The text message came at 2:47 a.m. 3 words that shattered my world. I can't anymore. Lilly, the woman I thought I'd marry, the one who looked at me like I was her hero just 3 months ago, was gone. And the worst part? I knew exactly why. It wasn't another man, it wasn't distance, it wasn't even a fight. It was 5 subtle things I did that slowly killed her attraction. Things so small, I didn't even realize I was doing them. Things that seemed innocent, even sweet, but were actually broadcasting to her that I wasn't the confident man she thought she was getting. 5 seemingly harmless behaviors that cost me the love of my life. And if you've ever watched a woman's eyes go from adoration to nothing, you need to hear this story. Because understanding these 5 subtle attraction killers could save you from the same devastating mistake I made. But before I tell you about the night everything fell apart, you need to understand how perfect everything seemed just hours before my world collapsed. 3 months earlier, Lilly and I were the couple everyone envied. She worked as a marketing director. I was a software engineer pulling 6 figures. We looked good together. Her friends constantly told her how lucky she was. My buddies said I'd scored. But there were signs, subtle things I completely missed because no one ever teaches men what to actually look for. Like how she'd go quiet during our silences, not uncomfortable, but studying me, testing something. I thought she was just being thoughtful. I had no idea she was measuring my confidence, waiting to see if I'd panic and fill the space with nervous chatter, which I always did. So, did you see that thing about the new restaurant downtown? I'd blurt out whenever conversation naturally paused. She'd smile and nod, but something in her eyes would dim just a little each time. Or how she'd give me these intense looks, the kind that made my heart race. And I'd immediately look away, thinking I was being respectful. I didn't realize she was giving me green lights that I kept missing because I couldn't believe someone like her could actually want someone like me. But the biggest sign? The way she'd playfully challenge things I said, and I'd immediately backtrack and agree with her instead of standing my ground. I thought I was being a good boyfriend. Turns out, I was failing every single test she threw my way. The wedding invitation came in February. Her childhood friend Diana was marrying some guy who honestly seemed like a complete jerk to me. He was loud, cocky, always making jokes at other people's expense. But Lilly lit up around him in a way that confused me. God, Diana's so lucky, she said, watching him tease the bride about her wedding planning stress. Look how confident he is. He just owns the room. I nodded along. But inside I was thinking, really? That guy? He's nothing special. I had no idea I was about to learn exactly why women think differently than men about attraction. And it was going to cost me everything. The wedding was perfect. Too perfect. Lilly looked stunning in this emerald green dress that made her eyes pop. Everyone kept saying we looked like the next couple to get married. I was actually planning to propose within the month. During the ceremony, she kept glancing at me with this soft smile, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. This amazing woman chose me. Me. The guy who still couldn't believe he deserved her. And that right there was my first mistake, though I wouldn't understand it until it was too late. The reception started beautifully. We were at our table with Diana's college friends, successful, attractive people who all seemed to have their lives figured out. Lilly was glowing, laughing at my jokes, touching my arm when she talked to me. But then the best man gave his speech. Tommy here, he said, pointing at the groom, has always been the guy who goes after what he wants. No hesitation, no second guessing. He saw Diana across that crowded bar 3 years ago and just walked right up to her. Didn't even introduce himself, just said, "You're coming home with me tonight." Everyone laughed. Diana blushed and looked at her new husband with pure adoration. And you know what? The best man continued. She did. Because that's what real confidence looks like. That's what women actually want. A man who knows his worth. I felt Lilly shift beside me. When I looked at her, she was staring at the happy couple with this expression I'd never seen before. Longing? Regret? I couldn't tell, but something cold settled in my stomach. Pretty crazy story, right? I whispered to her, trying to lighten the mood. She turned to me, and for a split second, I saw something in her eyes that terrified me. Like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. Yeah, she said quietly. Crazy. But the real disaster was still coming. And it would happen during what should have been the most romantic part of the night. The DJ called for all couples to join the dance floor for a slow song. Lilly took my hand and led me out there, and for a moment, everything felt right again. She was pressed against me, her head on my shoulder, moving to the music. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." I whispered back, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. But then Diana's college roommate, Jessica, appeared next to us with her date, some guy who looked like he belonged in a magazine. Tall, broad shoulders, this casual confidence that seemed to radiate from him. "Lily, oh my God, you look incredible," Jessica squealed. We stopped dancing to chat. Jessica introduced her date as Marcus, some entrepreneur who owned 3 restaurants. The kind of guy who probably had women throwing themselves at him. And that's when it happened. Marcus looked at me, extended his hand with this knowing smirk, and said, "So you're the lucky guy who landed Lily. What's your secret?" It was a simple question, a throwaway comment. But in that moment, with Lily watching, with this incredibly confident man testing me, everything I'd been insecure about came flooding to the surface. "Oh, I don't know." I laughed nervously, looking down at my feet. "I guess I just got really lucky. Lily's way out of my league." The words came out before I could stop them. Self-deprecating humor that I thought was charming. Humble. Sweet. Marcus's eyebrows raised slightly. Jessica looked uncomfortable. And Lily went completely still beside me. But I wasn't done destroying myself yet. "Seriously," I continued, digging my grave deeper. "I don't know what she sees in me. I keep waiting for her to come to her senses and find someone better." I was trying to be funny, relatable. Instead, I had just revealed every insecure thought I'd been harboring, announced to everyone, including the woman I loved, that I didn't believe I deserved her. Marcus recovered quickly, changed the subject to something else. But the damage was done. When we walked back to our table, Lily was quiet. Too quiet. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said, but she wouldn't look at me. And that's when I realized I had just failed the biggest test of my life. In front of the woman I wanted to marry, I had revealed that I didn't believe in my own value. I had told her, and everyone else, that I expected her to leave me for someone better. But I still didn't understand what I'd done wrong. I thought I was being modest, humble. I had no idea I was broadcasting to every woman in earshot that I was the kind of man who would become clingy, jealous, and insecure in a relationship. The kind of man who would need constant reassurance. The kind of man who would make her feel like she was settling. The slow song ended, but for us, something else was ending too. The rest of the reception was torture. Lily talked to everyone else at our table, laughed at their jokes, but when I tried to join conversations, she'd give me these polite smiles that felt like ice. During the bouquet toss, she stood in the back with her arms crossed while other women fought for the flowers. When Diana threw it directly to her, Lily let it fall to the ground. The message was clear, even though I desperately tried to convince myself otherwise. On the drive home, I attempted damage control. That was fun, right? Great wedding. Marcus seemed like an interesting guy. Pretty confident. Wrong thing to say? She turned to stare out the passenger window. "Lily, what's wrong? Did I do something?" She was quiet for so long I thought she wasn't going to answer. Then she said, "Do you really think I'm out of your league?" My heart sank. "No, I was just..." "Because if you do, then what does that say about me? What does it say about my judgment that I'd be with someone who isn't good enough for me?" I pulled over to the side of the road, hands shaking. "Lily, I didn't mean. You told a complete stranger that you're waiting for me to come to my senses and leave you." Her voice was steady, but I could hear the hurt underneath. "Do you know how that made me feel?" I tried to explain. Told her I was just being humble, that I loved her, that I thought she was amazing. All true things. But none of it mattered anymore. "The thing is," she said, staring straight ahead, "I used to think you were this quiet, mysterious guy. Strong and confident, but just subtle about it. I thought you saw something in yourself that other people were missing." My chest was getting tight. "I am confident. No, you're not." She finally looked at me, and her eyes were completely different now. Like she was seeing a stranger. "You're insecure. And insecure men become possessive men. They become jealous men. They become men who need their girlfriends to constantly prove their love because they don't believe they deserve it." "That's not true," I said. But even as the words came out, I knew she was right. "Isn't it? When was the last time you disagreed with me about something important? When was the last time you called me out when I was being unreasonable? When was the last time you led instead of following?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't. She was right about everything. "I don't want to be with someone who worships me," she said quietly. I want to be with someone who challenges me. Someone who knows his own worth. Someone who wouldn't even think to tell people his girlfriend is out of his league because the thought would never occur to him. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Finally, she said, "Take me home. I need to think." I knew it was over, even though she didn't say it. Even though we spent 2 more weeks pretending everything was normal. I knew I had shown her something that couldn't be unseen. But the lesson I was about to learn would change everything about how I understood women and attraction. The text came 2 weeks later at 2:47 a.m. "I can't anymore." I called her immediately. Voicemail. I drove to her apartment. She wouldn't answer the door. I sent paragraph after paragraph explaining how I'd change, how I'd be more confident, how I'd never doubt myself again. Radio silence. It took me months to understand what really happened that night. And the truth is devastating because it's so preventable. Here's what I learned about female psychology that no one ever teaches men. When a woman compliments you or gives you signs of interest, and you act nervous or unsure, you're not being cute or humble. You're telling her that other women don't find you attractive. You're broadcasting that you're not used to female attention. And women want men that other women want. When you fill silences with nervous chatter because you're worried about being boring, you're showing her that you don't believe in your own value. Confident men are comfortable with silence because they know their presence is enough. When you constantly agree with everything she says and never challenge her playfully, you're not being a good boyfriend. You're being boring. Women test men constantly, not to be mean, but because they need to know you can handle pressure. If you fail her tests, she loses respect for you. And when you tell people your girlfriend is out of your league, you're not being modest. You're telling every woman in earshot that you don't believe you deserve the woman you're with. You're announcing that you'll probably become clingy, jealous, and insecure. Because here's the thing about women that took me years to figure out. They don't want to feel like they're doing you a favor by being with you. They want to feel like they're winning a prize. They want to feel like they got the guy that other women want but can't have. Lily didn't leave me because I wasn't good enough. She left me because I didn't believe I was good enough. And that belief, or lack of it, poisoned everything about how I showed up in the relationship. 6 months after Lily left, I was at a coffee shop when I overheard 2 women talking at the table next to me. I really liked him at first, one was saying. He was cute, had a good job, seemed sweet. But, her friend prompted. But when I complimented his shirt, he got all flustered and said it was just something cheap from Target. When I suggested a restaurant for our second date, he immediately agreed and asked if I was sure it wasn't too expensive. And when my friend jokingly said I was out of his league, he actually agreed with her. "Ew," her friend said. "So he's insecure." Exactly. And insecure guys become clingy guys. They become guys who go through your phone and get jealous when you talk to other men. They become guys who need constant reassurance because they don't believe they deserve you. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This stranger was describing exactly what I'd done with Lily. The thing is, the first woman continued, confidence isn't about being loud or cocky. It's about believing in your own value. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. When a guy constantly puts himself down or acts like he can't believe I chose him, it makes me question my own judgment. Right? Like, if you think you're not good enough for me, then either you're right and I'm making a mistake, or you're wrong and you don't know yourself well enough to be in a relationship. That conversation changed everything for me. I finally understood that attraction isn't just about looks or money or status. It's about how you see yourself and how that comes across to women. I realized that Lily hadn't left me because I wasn't confident enough. She left me because my insecurity would have eventually poisoned our relationship. She was protecting herself from months or years of having to constantly reassure me, of dealing with my jealousy, of feeling like she was with someone who didn't believe he deserved her. She was right to leave. And understanding that was the first step toward becoming the kind of man who wouldn't make those mistakes again. But knowing what went wrong and fixing it are 2 completely different things. For months, I tried to become more confident through willpower alone. I'd tell myself I was attractive, I was worthy, I deserved good things. But the moment I was around a woman I liked, all that fake confidence crumbled. I read books, watched videos, practiced in the mirror. Nothing worked because I was trying to treat the symptoms instead of the disease. The real breakthrough came when I stopped trying to become confident and started understanding why I wasn't confident in the first place. Turns out, I'd been programmed since childhood to seek approval, to avoid conflict, to make everyone else comfortable even at my own expense. I'd been taught that good men are humble, self-deprecating, agreeable. All the things that might make you a nice person but will kill attraction faster than anything else. I had to completely rewire how I thought about masculinity, about my role in relationships, about what women actually want versus what society tells us they want. And here's what I discovered. Women don't want perfect men. They don't want men who never make mistakes or never have insecurities. But they do want men who own their imperfections instead of apologizing for them constantly. They want men who can handle a playful challenge without getting defensive. They want men who can sit in silence without panicking. They want men who believe they bring value to the relationship, not men who are grateful to be tolerated. Most importantly, they want men who understand that attraction is emotional, not logical. You can't convince a woman to be attracted to you by listing your good qualities or explaining why you'd be a good boyfriend. Attraction is something she feels, not something she thinks. 6 months of intensive work on myself later, I started dating again. And everything was different. The first time I put my new understanding to the test was at a friend's birthday party. I met a woman named Lisa, beautiful, smart, successful. Everything about her reminded me of Lilly. Old me would have been nervous, agreeable, desperate to impress her. New me was just present, comfortable in my own skin. When she complimented my watch, instead of deflecting or minimizing, I simply said, "Thanks," and continued the conversation. When she mentioned she was thinking about seeing a movie I hated, instead of agreeing to go along, I told her it looked terrible and suggested something better. "Oh, you're one of those guys who thinks he knows better than everyone else?" she said with a smirk. Old me would have immediately backtracked. New me just smiled and said, "Absolutely. Stick with me and you'll never have to sit through another bad movie." She laughed, really laughed, and I could see something shift in her eyes. Interest, attraction, respect. When there was a lull in conversation, instead of rushing to fill it with nervous chatter, I just looked at her, really looked at her. Let the tension build. She held my gaze, and I could feel the electricity between us. "You're trouble," she said softly. "Good trouble or bad trouble?" I asked. "The best kind." Later that night, she asked for my number. She texted me first. She initiated our first date. Not because I chased her or convinced her, but because I'd triggered something in her that she wanted to explore. We dated for 8 months. It ended amicably when she moved across the country for work, but it proved to me that I'd fundamentally changed how I showed up with women. More importantly, I'd learned the difference between being a nice guy and being an attractive man. And that difference changed everything. Looking back at my relationship with Lilly, I can now see exactly where I went wrong. And these mistakes are so common that I see men making them everywhere I go. Mistake number 1. I couldn't handle silence. Every time our conversation naturally paused, I'd panic and fill the space with meaningless chatter. I didn't realize that silence between two people who are attracted to each other is actually charged with sexual tension. By constantly breaking that tension, I was killing the very thing that creates attraction. Mistake number 2. I got nervous when she showed interest. When Lilly complimented me or gave me flirtatious looks, instead of receiving them confidently, I'd doubt myself. Does she really mean it? Is she just being nice? That uncertainty showed her that I wasn't used to female attention, which made her question why other women hadn't noticed me. Mistake number 3. I tried too hard to prove my worth. Instead of just being myself and letting her discover my good qualities naturally, I'd constantly explain my achievements, justify my decisions, or overshare personal details. This screamed insecurity and made her feel like I didn't believe I was enough just as I was. Mistake number 4. I was too eager to please. I agreed with everything she said, never challenged her opinions, never teased her playfully. I thought I was being respectful and considerate. But women don't want a yes man. They want a partner who has his own opinions and isn't afraid to express them. Mistake number 5. My confidence crumbled during her tests. When Lilly would playfully challenge me or pretend to lose interest, instead of staying cool and confident, I'd get defensive or try harder to win her approval. Every failed test made her lose a little more respect for me. These aren't character flaws. They're learned behaviors that most men develop because nobody teaches us what actually attracts women. We learn from movies, from well-meaning friends, from a society that tells us to be nice and humble and agreeable. But nice and humble and agreeable might make you a good person. It won't make you an attractive man. Here's what took me years to understand. Women aren't attracted to perfection. They're attracted to authenticity. They're attracted to men who know their own value and aren't afraid to express it. When you constantly put yourself down or act surprised that a woman likes you, you're not being humble. You're being inauthentic. Because deep down, you know you have value. You know you're a good man with good qualities. But you're too afraid to own that because you think it makes you arrogant. Here's the difference. Arrogance is thinking you're better than everyone else. Confidence is knowing you're good enough for anyone. An arrogant man needs to put others down to feel good about himself. A confident man can celebrate other people's success because he's secure in his own worth. An arrogant man gets defensive when challenged. A confident man welcomes challenges because they give him a chance to show who he really is. Women can sense the difference immediately, and they're attracted to confidence while being repelled by arrogance. But here's the catch. They're also repelled by false humility and self-deprecation. Because those things signal insecurity just as clearly as arrogance signals narcissism. The sweet spot is authentic confidence, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, owning both, and being comfortable in your own skin regardless of what anyone else thinks. That's what Lilly was looking for. That's what every woman is looking for. Not perfection, but authenticity. Not someone who thinks he's God's gift to women, but someone who knows he has something valuable to offer. The hardest part about losing Lilly wasn't the loneliness or the heartbreak. It was realizing that I had sabotaged the best relationship of my life through my own insecurity. She didn't leave me for another man. She didn't leave me because we weren't compatible. She left me because my behavior predicted exactly the kind of toxic relationship we would have had if we'd stayed together. My insecurity would have made me clingy. My need for constant reassurance would have exhausted her. My jealousy would have isolated her from friends and family. My inability to believe I deserved her would have made every day feel like I was auditioning to keep her. And the cruelest irony? The more insecure I acted, the less attractive I became, which made me even more insecure. It was a death spiral that would have destroyed us both. Lilly saved us from that by leaving when she did. She saw where we were headed and had the courage to walk away before we both got hurt even worse. I resented her for months. Called her shallow, told myself she never really loved me, convinced myself she was looking for someone perfect. But the truth is, she was looking for someone real. Someone who believed in himself enough to be a true partner instead of a grateful dependent. I wasn't that man when I met her, but losing her taught me how to become that man. And if you're watching this because you've been where I was, if you've seen a woman's interest fade for reasons you couldn't understand, if you felt like you were always walking on eggshells in relationships, if you've been told you're such a nice guy, right before being rejected, then you need to hear this. It's not your fault that no one taught you how attraction really works. But it is your responsibility to learn. The story I just told you happened 3 years ago. Since then, I've been in 2 serious relationships with incredible women who respected me, challenged me, and never once made me feel like I was lucky to be with them. Because I stopped being lucky and started being intentional. I learned that attraction isn't mysterious or random. It follows specific psychological principles that you can understand and apply. I learned that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you can develop through understanding and practice. Most importantly, I learned that becoming attractive to women isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming more of who you really are underneath all the insecurity and programming. The techniques I discovered didn't just change my dating life. They changed how I showed up at work, with friends, with family. When you truly believe in your own value, every area of your life improves. But here's the thing. I can't give you a complete transformation in one video. What I've shared today is just the beginning. The real work happens when you start applying these insights in your actual interactions with women. If you're serious about never being the friend zone guy again, if you want to stop losing women who initially liked you because you couldn't pass their tests, if you want to re-enter the dating scene with real confidence at any age, then you need a systematic approach. You need the scrambler. What I'm about to share with you is the exact system that transformed me from the insecure man who lost Lilly to the confident man who attracts and keeps high-quality women. The scrambler isn't about pickup lines or manipulation tactics. It's about understanding the psychology of attraction and learning to trigger the right emotions in women naturally and authentically. With one simple move, you can stop losing women that initially liked you because you couldn't play the game. Re-enter the dating scene with confidence at any age. Pass each and every one of women's secret tests. The Scrambler is the only system that combines eliminating the nice guy behavior ingrained in so many men with the most cutting-edge discoveries of modern psychology. So you can gain the attraction of women, project personal power, and avoid the "let's just be friends" speech for good. This isn't theory. This isn't guesswork. This is a proven system that's already helped thousands of men go from being overlooked and friend-zoned to being the man that women chase, compete for, and commit to. The same women who used to see you as sweet but not exciting will start seeing you as the man they can't stop thinking about. The same women who used to give you polite smiles will start giving you the looks that Lilly used to give me before I knew how to handle them properly. But here's what makes the Scrambler different from every other dating advice you've heard. Most dating advice treats the symptoms. The Scrambler cures the disease. Instead of giving you lines to memorize or techniques to practice, the Scrambler rewires how you think about yourself and your value as a man. It eliminates the root cause of nice guy behavior, the belief that you need to earn a woman's interest instead of simply deserving it. When you complete the Scrambler system, you won't need to remember what to say or how to act. You'll naturally behave in ways that trigger attraction because you'll finally understand what women are really looking for. You'll stop seeking approval and start commanding respect. You'll stop trying to convince women to like you and start making them prove they deserve your attention. You'll stop being grateful for whatever scraps of affection you can get and start expecting the kind of passionate love you truly deserve. Most importantly, you'll never again have to watch a woman's interest fade and wonder what you did wrong. Because you'll understand exactly how to pass every test, handle every challenge, and maintain attraction throughout the entire relationship. The women in your life will notice the change immediately. Your coworkers will treat you differently. Your friends will start asking what's different about you. Even your family will see the transformation. Because when you truly believe in your own value, when you genuinely feel like you deserve the best life has to offer, everything about your energy changes. Everything about how you show up in the world changes. And women can sense that change from across the room. If you're ready to stop being the guy who gets friend-zoned and start being the guy who gets chosen, click the link below and discover the Scrambler system that's already transformed thousands of men's lives. Don't spend another day wondering why women lose interest. Don't waste another relationship making the same mistakes I made with Lilly. The Scrambler is waiting for you. Your transformation starts now. Click the link below and take the first step toward becoming the man you were always meant to be.